You just checked your phone. There was nothing new. There rarely is. And yet, within a few minutes, you will check it again. You already know you will. You have done this thousands of times, and you have never once made a conscious decision to do it. That behavior, the one that feels like a habit or boredom or just something you do, was designed. Not by accident, not as a side effect, by people who understood exactly what would happen in your brain when they built what they built. This is what they knew, and when they knew it. The average American checks their phone 205 times a day. 205. That is once every 4 to 5 minutes of waking hours. A study tracking the data from 2023 to 2024 found that the number rose by 42% in a single year. Not because phones became more useful, because the apps on them became better at what they were already doing. The average American also spends around 5 hours per day on their phone. Millennials check theirs 324 times daily, more than 20 times per waking hour. Every 4 minutes, on average, something pulls their attention back. Here is the question most people never think to ask. Why? Not, why is this bad? Why does it keep happening? Mechanically, neurologically, even when you are aware of it, even when you have tried to stop. The answer has nothing to do with your willpower. It has everything to do with a psychological mechanism called the variable reward schedule. And the people who built your favorite apps understood it before they wrote a single line of code. In the 1950s, a psychologist named B.F. Skinner ran a series of experiments with rats and levers. The rats could press a lever to receive a food pellet. Simple enough. But Skinner changed one variable. In one condition, the pellet came every time. Predictable, consistent. The rats pressed when hungry, then stopped. In a second condition, the pellet came randomly. Sometimes on the second press, sometimes on the 20th, sometimes not at all. The rats pressed constantly, obsessively. Even when exhausted, they couldn't stop. This is called the variable ratio reinforcement schedule, the specific pattern where the number of actions required for a reward changes unpredictably each time. Psychologists distinguish it from other reinforcement schedules because it produces one thing the others don't: behavior that is almost impossible to extinguish. You can't predict it, so you can't discount it. Each press might be the one. It is not an accident that this is the same principle behind slot machines. The slot machine arm is a lever. The coins are the pellet. The unpredictability is the entire mechanism. Casinos are more addictive than any other form of gambling specifically because of this. Not the stakes, not the environment, but the schedule. Now, the next time you pick up your phone and open Instagram or TikTok or your email, and you don't find anything interesting, and you put it down and pick it up 30 seconds later, you are not doing something irrational. You are doing exactly what Skinner's rats did. The behavior was not learned from a mistake, it was trained. The lever is your phone. The pellet is whatever you're hoping to find. And the unpredictability, the fact that sometimes it's there and sometimes it isn't, is not a bug in the system. The apps on your phone did not accidentally replicate the variable reward schedule. They were built around it. Pull to refresh. You have probably never thought about why this gesture exists. You pull down the screen, and the app refreshes, showing you what's new. Sometimes there's something. Sometimes there isn't. The pull motion itself, the gesture, the pause, the reveal, mimics a slot machine handle. The movement is not necessary for the technology. The content could refresh automatically. The pull was added because of what it does to the user's brain during the moment before the screen updates. That moment, the fraction of a second between pulling and seeing, is where the dopamine fires. Not when you see the content, before. This is anticipatory dopamine, sometimes called the dopamine of wanting rather than liking. The brain releases it in anticipation of a possible reward, not in response to receiving one. It is the neurological mechanism that makes the slot machine handle more compelling than the coins themselves. The wanting is stronger than the having. And the design team that added the pull gesture to a feed knew exactly which circuit they were activating. Notifications. Most are not urgent. Most do not require a response. But the phone buzzes, or the screen lights up, and the brain fires, because it might be something important, or something exciting, or something that changes something. The anticipation dopamine triggers before you even look at the screen. The result is that you look at the screen. Likes. The number on a post is not fixed when it's published. It grows over time, unpredictably. The person who posted it checks back to see how many likes it has received. Sometimes it has more. Sometimes it has barely moved. The checking is the lever. The like count is the pellet. 3 mechanisms: pull to refresh, notifications, and likes. Each one built around the same insight. Anticipation is more powerful than reward, and each one signed off on deliberately. Of all these mechanisms, the most structurally powerful is the one you feel least. Before infinite scroll was deployed widely in social media, content was paginated. You reached the bottom of a page and made a decision about whether to continue. That decision was a stopping cue, a moment where your brain could evaluate, do I want more of this? Infinite scroll removed that cue entirely. There is no bottom. There is no natural stopping point. The brain has no moment of evaluation, just the next piece of content, and the next, and the one after that. Psychologists call these decision points. Infinite scroll eliminates them by design. None of this happened by accident. The behavioral science behind all of it predates smartphones by decades. It was not discovered by tech companies. It was imported. In 2007, a product designer named Nir Eyal published a book called Hooked. Not a critique, a manual. The Hook model mapped the variable reward loop into a 4-stage product framework that became a standard text in Silicon Valley product teams. It is still taught in UX design programs today. By 2025, the average person was spending 6 hours and 54 minutes per day looking at screens. For Gen Z, 56% report they feel addicted. Not that they use their phones too much, that they feel addicted. They are describing a loss of control they did not choose and cannot easily undo. And the designers knew this outcome was possible. Some of them said so later, and some of them eventually said exactly what they knew. Out loud, on the record, in court. In February 2026, Aza Raskin, the UX designer credited with popularizing infinite scroll across major social media platforms, testified in a New Mexico court. He said he regrets what he created. He estimated that infinite scroll wastes the equivalent of 200,000 human lifetimes every single day. 200,000 lifetimes per day. This was not a researcher expressing concern. This was the person who designed the mechanism, testifying under oath that it had caused harm at a scale he did not intend and could not undo. Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, was more direct. In a 2017 interview, Parker said the platforms were built with a specific goal: to consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. He described a social validation feedback loop, exactly the variable reward cycle this video has been describing. And then he said, God only knows what it's doing to our children's brains. He knew. He built it anyway. He said so. Juries in Los Angeles and Santa Fe found Meta negligent for designing apps that were addictive and harmful to children's mental health. California's regulatory response to the testimony, the admissions, the jury verdicts was, as of 2026, to study the issue and develop policy recommendations. They are studying it. The research into what engagement-optimized apps are doing, not to children specifically, but to human attention broadly, is still accumulating. But what exists is not reassuring. A University of Pennsylvania study found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes per day significantly reduced loneliness and depression. The key word in that finding is limiting. The default state, the one the platforms optimize for, is not 30 minutes. It is as much time as the variable reward mechanism can sustain. 80.6% of Americans check their phones within 10 minutes of waking up. 76% check them in the hour before going to sleep. The first and last conscious acts of hundreds of millions of people's days involve pulling a lever. And the platforms that built this are not being regulated in any meaningful way. Individual states have passed bills restricting phone use by minors in certain contexts. The federal response is closer to what California produced: interest, acknowledgement, studies. Meanwhile, the system runs. Here's the thing about knowing this. It does not stop it working. Understanding that pull to refresh mimics a slot machine handle does not prevent the dopamine response when you pull it. Understanding that notifications are calibrated to trigger anticipation does not stop the anticipation from triggering. The mechanism operates below the level at which conscious knowledge can interrupt it. That is not an accident. It is the whole point. What it does change is the framing. The next time you check your phone and find nothing, and check it again 30 seconds later, you are not failing at some personal standard of discipline. You are experiencing a variable reward schedule operating exactly as its designers intended. The behavior is not yours. It was put there. Aza Raskin testified that he regrets infinite scroll. He did not say he could undo it. He said he could not. The feature is deployed across billions of interfaces. The behavior it trained is embedded in a generation. They are still studying it. The next video looks at why rent keeps going up and who benefits from that specifically.